Omer, so this is the conversation with Rebecca and with her brother uh, Lavan, and so they wanted Rebecca to marry Isaac, and um, and they said so basically. So it says in the verse, "Vayomer achia v'ima teshev nara itanu yamim o asor." And her brother and her mother said, "Let the young maiden remain with us for days or more." And achar telech, days or 10. Rashi says that the word days, what her brother and her mother said. So where was Betuel? Betuel heichon haya. Where was Betuel at this point? Rashi says that Betuel was trying to stop the wedding, and because he was trying to stop the wedding, uh, because he was trying to stop the wedding, therefore, Bamalach the Hemito, an angel came and killed him. It doesn't tell us which angel. It doesn't say which angel. It doesn't say which angel is trying to prepare it, but so that's what Rashi says. Then Chemda Genuza tells us in the Midrash Rabbah, it's brought down that Betuel gave a poisonous, he put poison into the food of Eliezer. And the angel came along and switched the plates. And why did Betuel want to kill Eliezer? Who is Eliezer? He's a servant of Abraham. Why did he want to kill him? Because the law is that if a man sends an agent to betroth a woman and the agent dies on the road, then the one who sent him is going to be prohibited to all the women in the world. Because maybe he betrothed a woman and then they're her relatives. So that's the halacha actually which we had in Kedushin. And so therefore Betuel wanted to kill Eliezer because he's the agent of Isaac in order to prohibit on Isaac all the women in the world. And that way he wouldn't have anybody to inherit him. And then he and his sons would inherit him. That's the concept there. Uh, so Eliezer was concerned about this, and so therefore he didn't want to eat until he completed the shidduch, and then it'll be a sudas mitzvah. And he said, and so there we're at chapter 24, verse 55. We just read the Rashi about how the angel killed Betuel, and they gave us a discussion of why the angel was trying to kill, why Betuel was trying to kill Eliezer, Avram's servant, and why the angel and why he was protected. Okay, so verse tells us Vayomer Achiav, so it says days. Days is a year. And they give a virgin a year before the wedding. This is from the Gemara in Subos in order to improve herself with jewelry and adornments. Okay. So now Oasor 10 months. If you want to say days is literally days and not a year, then why would you say give us days and then 10 months? So days means a year, and then Asor means 10 months. Okay. Okay, the next verse tells us, Vayomer Elem al tachroti. So the servant said to them, don't delay me. Hashem etzliach darki. Hashem will make me successful. Shalchuni ve'alchol adoni. Send me away and I'll go to my master. So there's no Rashi on that. Vayomer nikro narav in the They say, let's call the young maiden and we'll ask her. Let's call her and we'll ask her. Rashi says, Mikan, from here we learn that we don't marry off a woman unless she gives her consent. She had to give her consent. That's what the Midrash says. That's what Rashi says. So what's the proof? Because at first they said to Eliezer, behold, here is Rivka before you take her and go. And afterwards they changed their mind and they said, let her stay with us. And now they said, let's call her and let's ask her. So in the Midrash it says that the angel had killed Besuel, her father, and she was an orphan. And so therefore, when Besuel was alive, they said, okay, here's Rivka. But now that she's an orphan, they called her a Nara. So we see that you only marry an orphan if she consents. That's the idea. And but Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi has in his text not an orphan, but a woman. It's a little bit interesting that he changes it from an orphan to a woman. Hello, Moshe, how you doing? Everything good? We like everything about Moshe. Why is that? Okay. Anyway, so they said, let's go ask her. Another question that they ask about this is, how come at first they said, here's Rivka, take her and go? Why did they change their mind? And why also did they first call her, now do they call her Nara? So, yeah, but they didn't, but why are first they said take her, now they said let's ask her. So Rashi says she was 3 years old. Rashi says she was 3. But you know what the thing is? What we have to understand is that child marriage was basically the norm in most of the world for most of the world's existence. But but it didn't mean that they consummated the marriage then. It just meant that this girl was dedicated to be married to this man, and she was raised in that household, and that was the way that the parents would be able to make sure that this girl would be provided for. The Torah, you have to be 12 and a half. But nowadays, no, nowadays that to be much older. You have to follow the state law on this. You have to follow the state law. And nowadays, if anybody would do anything like this, it would be obviously obscene, offensive, criminal, and should go to jail. Yeah, I mean, there's some places in the world where they do it. There's some places in the world where they do this, but that doesn't make it okay. It's clearly deeply disturbing. Yeah. No, it means that first of all, the Torah never says she was actually 3. Well, because Rashi was trying to figure out the genealogy, but no, the Tosafos writes that in the Middle Ages they used to marry off their daughters at young ages because there was the deep concern that the father would die and there would be nobody to take care of their daughters. So they wanted to marry off their daughters and arrange for that before tragedy struck, because the life was much more precarious, your existence then. So it was a way of making sure that everybody was going to be provided for. Okay, so they called to Rebecca. They called to Rebecca and they said, "Vayikru Rivka, vayomer Leah, hatelchi im ha'isha zeh." And they called her and they said, "Do you want to go with this man?" And she said, "Vatomer elech." She said, "I will go on my own." Rashi says, "Even if you don't want me to go, I'm going to go." Vatomer elech. Rashi says, "Even if you don't want me to go, I'll go." So we see from here that if somebody has a father, we learn from here a proof that this is a very interesting question. We learn from here. Let's say you want to move to Israel and your parents don't let you. We learn from here a proof that you're allowed to go even against your parents' will to Israel. Of course, you can't demand that your parents. Hello, Eitan, how are you doing? You can't demand that your parents support you, but you don't have to listen to your parents if you want to move to Israel. That's another teaching from here. So then it says, "Vayishalchu et Rivka achotam." They sent Rebecca, their sister, that Menikata and her nurse, as Eved Avram Vesanashav, and so they escorted Rebecca, their sister, and her nurse, and the servant of Avram and his men. Vayivarchu et Rivka, and they blessed Rebecca, and they said to her, Achotenu ati hayi la'alfei revavam. Our sister, may you come to have thousands of descendants. V'yirash zarech et shar sonav, and your enemies and your descendants shall inherit the gates of their enemies. And when I officiate a wedding, I always say this to the bride. This is a custom to say this to the bride. So that okay. So now it says Vatakam. Vatakam Rivka. Rivka got up in Arosah, and her maiden Vaterkavna Agmalim, and she rode on the camels. Vatelachna Achrei Ish, and they went after the man. She went after the man. Vayikacha Eved Rivka Vayelach, and the servant took Rivka, and he departed. So the commentaries point out at the beginning of this verse, he's called a man, and afterwards, in the middle of the verse, he's called a servant. If you look, it says in the verse, Rivka got up and she rode on the camels, and she went after the man, and then the servant took Vayikacha Eved et Rivka, and the servant took Rebecca. So why is he at first called a man and then it's called a servant? So that's an interesting question. Gesundheit. So now we go up to the next verse, and the next verse tells us, "V'yitzlak bami bo be'er l'chayra'i." Isaac came from having gone to be'er l'chayra'i, v'hu yoshev be'eretz hanegev, and he was dwelling in the land of the south. What is be'er l'chayra'i? He had gone there. Why did Isaac go to be'er l'chayra'i? This is a fascinating Rashi. Rashi says he had gone there to bring Hagar to Avram, his father, so that he should marry her. Because Hagar herself went to Be'er L'Chai. So what was Isaac doing there? He had gone there to bring back Hagar after his own mother died. He wanted her to marry. He wanted his father to remarry Hagar. Powerful idea. Who would ever be able to do that? He wanted to make a shidduch for his father. So, this is what Rashi says. So why now specifically? Hello, Kobe. How you doing? Amazing. Why now specifically that when Eliezer went to get a wife for Isaac, did Isaac go to get a wife for his father? So first of all, you can understand this idea. What does it mean, mibo be'er l'chayroi? He was thinking, mi bara elah. He was thinking, who created the world? But so why specifically now? So because now Yitzchak was worried, Rebecca's coming here. Who's going to be raising her properly? She's young, and he didn't want Rebecca to have to take care of his father, and that would be and so therefore he went to bring Hagar, and so therefore they wouldn't call upon Rebecca to be like the servant to his father. Okay, now we come to the verse, one of the most important verses in the Torah. It says, "Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh." Isaac went out to have a conversation in the field. And when he went out to have a conversation in the field, of no Zaref towards evening, he lifted up his eyes and he saw that the camels were coming. What does it mean? Isaac went out to have a conversation in the field. What does that mean? Anybody know? What does it mean Isaac went out to have a conversation in the field? Anybody? He went very good, Elon. Rashi says, excellent. Rashi says, this means prayer. Conversation means prayer. Kamo yishpoch sicho. He pours out his voice. So that's what a conversation. What does it mean to pray? When you ask, you say, "What does it mean to pray?" We'll just pause here for a moment and focus on this. What does it mean to pray? What does prayer mean? Prayer is actually the wrong word. I mean, I use it, but prayer. What is the root of the word prayer? What is the Latin? What does the word prayer mean? It comes from Latin. Latin prectoris means to ask, to request. So that's not actually the Hebrew word for what we do in the morning and the afternoon. The Hebrew word is not, the Hebrew word is tefillah, but here it is sicha. What we're doing is when we gather, we're not really supposed to be, the focus of why we're gathering is not to ask for things from God. That's not why we should be gathering. Why are we gathering here? To have a conversation with Hashem. To have a conversation with Hashem. To have an encounter with God. So that's the difference. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing when we daven mincha, when we daven shachris. We're taking a pause from our day and we're having a conversation with God. And you know what the difference is? Whenever you have a conversation with your friend, let's say I'm having a conversation with you guys now. You guys are great. I'm not criticizing you in any way, but some of you might be listening with less than 100% attention. You know, like you're listening a little bit, but you got other things on your mind. You got some, maybe if you're like exceedingly lucky, there's somebody who's perhaps romantically interested in you. Nah, looking at you, no chance. Okay. Okay, just kidding, guys. No, but I mean, like, the point is that the only one who's going to have our undivided attention in our conversation during the day is God. And so that's what the prayer is. Our prayer is our chance to talk to God, to have a conversation, tell God what our goals are, what our dreams are, what our reasons for gratitude are. And so therefore that's really what we're doing when we gather and recite and we gather for a minyan. Okay, let's see what that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know what the root of the word is. Maybe you could Google it. What's the root of the word daven in Yiddish? What? Let me look up. They're probably just going to say prayer if I Google it. That's the problem. But what? But it's like you want to say where does the Yiddish word come from? Here we go. Here's an article. Daven is from the Jewish Chronicle, British. Daven is the Yiddish word for pray, which has passed into common usage, but doesn't have the same connotations as the English world. Prayer is likely, okay, fine, blah, blah, blah. I know two theories. So on the etymology of daven, the first is that it's a medieval borrowing and corruption of the Latin divinas, which means like to prophecy. The second theory is that it means gift in Lithuanian. When the Jews trading the marketplaces of Lithuania would break off their work in order to daven mincha, they would explain what they were doing by translating the word mincha, the afternoon service. They were saying it means an offering or a gift, and they would translate it. They would say in Lithuanian, because what does mincha mean? Mincha means an offering. So they would say, "Oh, we're going to mincha." They say, "What does word mincha do?" So it's an offering, a daven. So that's the second theory about davening. Very interesting. Okay, so we have a couple of statements. Let me just see some things come to mind here. Some beautiful things here. Let me share with you. First of all, Reb Nachman of Breslov says, this is such a beautiful idea. Even though it's not the Rashi, I'll share with you. Rashi says, the conversation means prayer. Ein sicha ela tefillah. Says Reb Nachman Breslov. He quotes the verse from Psalms. Tefillah ani, a prayer for a poor man, ki ya'atof, v'lifnei Hashem yishpoch sicho. When he wraps himself, and before God, he pours out his conversation. So, what does Rav Nachman Breslov say? What does it mean? It says the conversation means prayer. It means the prayer of Isaac was with kol siach hasadeh. This is a play on the words from Genesis. Kol siach hasadeh terem yitzmach. The first chapter, that all the siach of the sadeh, all the vegetation of the field had not yet begun to flourish. So he says sicha comes from the word siach. Even though we translated conversation, Rav Nachman Breslov does a pun. It comes from the word vegetation, meaning to say that all the vegetations of the field gave from their energy into his prayer. That his prayer was lifted by the nature around him. Now, it says in the Tanya, not the Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Yitzchak instituted mincha prayer. So ein sicha el tefillah, the Reb Simcha of Bunim says, it means all of our conversations, all of Isaac's conversations were under the rubric of prayer. Every conversation he had was a prayer. So now, okay, I just want to read to this to you. We have a commentary from the Torah Tamima here. Normally we only do Rashi, but this is powerful too. This is powerful also. All these are powerful, probably. All these are powerful. So it says, what does it mean, mincha prayer? What does the mincha prayer mean? What did we just say it means, Elon? No, we said it means an offering, right? Right? So why is it called mincha? So that's what the Torah Tamima asks. Why is the mincha prayer called mincha? If it's because the mincha was brought in the afternoon, also in the morning we brought this grain offering. The mincha was a grain offering, which was brought in the morning and the afternoon. So why do we call the afternoon prayer mincha? Why don't we call the morning prayer mincha? We're in chapter 24, verse 63. So that's a Geshma question. So we should say, why don't we say, carbon means offering. Carbon is a general term, and mincha is a type of offering. It's a grain offering. You're right. Why don't we just call it carbon? So also in the morning, they brought the mincha. So we could say in the morning, there's a different prayer, shachris. And also, so it says that you have to be very careful about the mincha prayer because Elijah was answered on account of his mincha prayer. So it's possible, maybe, when he brought the afternoon mincha, he was answered, and that's a time of especially appropriate right before sunset to ask of our conversation with God. So another explanation is from the Abudram that it's called mincha because this time of day was a day that Adam sinned, because it was in the 10th hour of the day, right before nightfall, and the first day that Adam was created. And it says that they heard the sound of God, by Yishmuat Kol Hashem Okim, Adam heard the sound of God walking in the garden, Ruach Hayom, in the spirit of the day. And so it's called L'manach Yoma. So therefore, that's perhaps. But the Torah Tamima says that is another answer. Shachrit comes from Shachar, dawn. Ma'ariv comes from Arvit, evening. So Mincha is called because of the fact that the sun is resting at that time. So that's how he says it gets its name, Yanuach. Another explanation is the Ramban says Mincha comes from the Menuchas HaShemesh, the resting of the sun. All right, all these different explanations. Here's one last one. I'll just tell you one last one. The Kedusha slave, you know who the Kedusha slave is? The Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. So he says as follows. Why are we obligated to pray the Shachris every morning? Why? Because that's when God returns our soul. And why do we have to do the evening prayer? because we deposit our soul to God. Our mincha is a voluntary offering. Shachris, we're obligated. Ma'ariv, we're obligated. Mincha is voluntary. Mincha is the hardest prayer to find the minyan for, because Shachris, you have a set time where you are. Everybody wakes up in the morning, they go to their Shachris, they have their minyan. Ma'ariv, everybody has a minyan. At nighttime, you're going, I'm not talking about in this community. Like, in this community, there's barely any Jews. But I'm saying, barely any, I'm not trying to be derogatory. It's not the critical mass of praying Jews that you have in a place like Muncie, for example, right? Or Lakewood. So Shachris, everybody has a minyan. Ma'ariv, everybody has a minyan. Mincha, you're working. You're going around. So to stop your day and to say, I'm going to find a mincha minyan, that shows it's an offering. And so therefore, that's what it's showing. Okay. So now, is it time to dive in? Wow, I didn't even realize what time it was. Sorry. I was all focused talking about mincha.